That time again to welcome to the stage your host for the day, Mr. John Young!
A cheer from the left of the room. I'm not sure I've earned that yet. A very warm welcome indeed. A very good morning to you all here in London on the banks of the beautiful Thames. And of course to all of us joining virtually, you are not forgotten. My job to make sure you feel absolutely as much a part of today as everyone here in the room in London. And I do want to start with a question though to you all here in London. Put your hands up if you were here yesterday. Okay, put your hands down. Put your hands up if you're here for the first time and you weren't here yesterday but you're here today. And you're expecting me to give you a lovely warm welcome. But no, I'm going to say, what were you thinking? Why have you missed the first day of such a great event? Because we had a lot of fun yesterday and we got through a lot and you missed it all. But let me give you the headlines. We had Pippa from The Guardian, political editor, with all her insights into secrets of politics, what might be coming up that might help you in the world of management accountancy. Then we had various breakouts that were so useful, with so much information to take away. And then in, what was it in the end, 51 minutes flat, we sorted out the future of finance with a great panel discussion. But perhaps a highlight was actually the awards ceremony in the evening. And if you were here for that, I hope you found it as touching as well as exciting an evening as I did. The exciting bit was the amazing magician, Ben. How does he do that stuff? He came up with some tricks, if you weren't here, all to do with arithmetic and maths, and you had a lady here nodding like, how was he doing that? And everything added up to the number that Sarah had randomly picked. Amazing. But anyway, you missed that. But you also missed this. The stories. We had 7 awards, and they came at the end of the evening. But I think for me, and maybe for some of you too, that was a moment. Because we heard stories, didn't we? And I want to share one of you, just go over one of those stories again. And if you weren't here, just tell you this story. It was Student of the Year. I think it was the 5th of the 7 awards. And you hear Student of the Year, so you expect some bright young 22-year-old to come bounding on stage. And we didn't get that, did we? We got Gavin Simpson, who I'm sure you won't mind me saying he's not here, but I think, I don't know, mid-40s perhaps, maybe later. Student of the Year, and he told his story. He went and stood there, and he told his story. 10 years ago, he was a dust cart driver. He told us that he was neurodiverse, and then he went on to tell us that he had 3 children who all had special needs, and his wife had helped bring them up with him so that he, you can guess where this is going, could train to become a management accountant, thanks to CIMA. And he is now Jaguar Land Rover finance partner, as well as Student of the Year. So I think that was a very touching moment for us all, and you could hear a pin drop, people nodding here in the audience. And I think that's what I want to bring out of today. My background, as I explained yesterday, is as a journalist, so storytelling is something that thrills me and excites me. And I want today you to get as much from stories as you do from the tech and the platforms and the science. When you go to the breakouts, listen out for the stories about how are these things helping people? How can you change your story? What is your story? We're going to hear Steve Bartlett's story this afternoon. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's all about stories as much, if you allow me to say it, as the tech and the science. But what have we got in terms of content and stories and tech and science coming up? Well, here we go. Let's talk through it. In a moment, we're going to hear the story of Kainos, who are our platinum sponsor, who are going to give a great presentation. And a word to our virtual audience, when they start in about 5-6 minutes, stay in the room. You don't need to click off and go anywhere else because it's all happening in this very room. They're going to give us a great presentation about what they call explosive growth, not mere growth, explosive growth coming up from Kainos. Then it's into the breakouts after a coffee break, and we have divided them as yesterday into 4 categories. So this is to give you a clue, which one should I go to? Well, they're designed with 4 types of people in mind, but don't feel you've got to stick to that. Mix and match. Early careers, if you think that's you, then Andy Lonnan will be here. Bean counter to business partners is her presentation. If you think you're an experienced professional, it's Jeremy Osborne, or, excuse me, Organisational Sustainability, ESG, getting a look in. That was a big theme 2 years ago, wasn't it? Well, it's still there. Senior leader Ian Jackson will be talking macroeconomics with us. And a digital section, if that's your focus, empowering your finance team with the right tech and your tech stack by our sponsor Accountants IQ. So thank you as sponsors for providing that. Then let's move on into the afternoon after our lunch break. More presentations and things to choose from. We've got Devya Atal, aspiring accountant to C-level executive, aimed at early careers, but feel free to go wherever you are in your career. Experienced professionals, we've got Melissa Spence with strategic leadership. And then senior leaders, we've lined up Andrew Payne, excuse me, how to make big decisions. That should be quite an interesting one. How do you make big decisions? And then we all come back together here in the room this afternoon for our Happy Sexy Millionaire. Do you think I'll be able to say that to him and get away with it? It's the title of one of his books. Stephen Bartlett, really looking forward to having some fun, asking him questions, but also asking you questions. And we don't want that awkward moment, do we, when I throw it open to the room and there's a deafening silence. So line up your questions, and if you're online, put them in the platform on the floor, put them in there. If you're on the app, which I'll come on to in a moment, put the questions in advance, and we'll have a few lined up to get the show on the road, and hands can go straight up when it's time to ask questions there. Now, onto a bit of the housekeeping. We have the app, of course, the Hoover app, which saves all the paper, so that's good for the ESG. But that's where, as you may have discovered if you're already on it, you can find out more about the speakers, find out more about who's here, find out more about the sponsors, send each other messages, do that connection thing that these conferences are so much about on the Hoover app. And if you want to now, if you're not on it, now, if you'll excuse me here in London in the room, I'm going to address solely for a couple of minutes our friends on the floor platform. Do play around with the app and have a think about what you want to do later today in the breakouts. So, to our friends joining us virtually. You will have already joined, so you've got a sense of the platform. I told everyone this yesterday, but I'm conscious many of you might be here this morning for the first time, so I will go through it all again, bear with me. On the left bar on your screen, the conference button, you've already pressed that to reach this point. That is, if you like, the reception area of the foyer. So when you choose your breakouts, click on that button and it'll give you the list of breakouts to go to. But as I say, in a couple of minutes, don't go anywhere, just stay right here. Below that, the attendees button tells you who's at the conference, so that's great for your networking and contacts. But if you want to have some conversations, hear some stories, during the coffee breaks, grab your coffee in your office or your kitchen, but then why not drop in on the lounge networking area? You never know who you might find there. And the sponsors, I'll come on to them in a moment in a bit more detail, but they have people lined up in the sponsor room as well during the breaks to chat to you if you're interested in their products. They would love to see you there. If it all goes a bit haywire, hit the help desk button. On the right of your screen right now, you will have the discuss and the Q&A button. The Q&A button is the magic button. That's where, if you've got a question for Stephen or for our other panelists, do put that in the Q&A button. And the magic of it is people can like it, and if they want to get that question asked, you can vote for it. So that's very handy there. Beneath that, you've got the poll. Don't worry about the poll button. I don't think we've got any polls. Handouts from our presentations will be in the handout section, and the audience button will tell you who is in the room of a particular event if you want to send them a message. Back to everyone here in London, don't feel you've got to make notes on everything. We'll be sending around the slides and recordings of the presentations for you regardless. Now the kind of in-flight video stuff I have to go through here. There's no fire alarm planned, so if it were to go off, your exits are at the very back there, at the sides as marked. Okay. We're nearly time for our first presentation from our platinum sponsor. But before I just want to tell you about the other three sponsors in particular, because as you know, without them, these things simply don't happen. So we're very grateful to them. They've got their stands in the hall, and they'd love to talk to you about what they do, or in the sponsors button if you're joining us virtually. Yesterday, I went and had a chat with them during one of the presentations when they were a bit lonely because everyone was in here and they weren't out there. So I went and had a little chat with them. And Jedox, they say they automate mundane tasks and create a single source of truth. So I said, give me a bit more than that. and Amoke was there. She told me, well, we integrate data with all platforms. So she said that is what is a little bit different about them and they're proud of. And they have a great photo piece of photo booth kit. So if you want to have a fun photo with their logo over their shoulder to send on your social media, pop along and have a chat with Amoke. Accounts IQ Solutions, Marlo and Tejuri were there, I had a chat with them. They say what they do differently is they save finance directors days of time each month. And then I pushed them a bit on that and said, give me something more that you specialise in. They said, well, we're mid-market. We're aiming for the mid-market. So if you're sitting here or you're joining us online, you're what you might call a mid-market company, maybe Accounts IQ Solutions are the ones for you. Our silver sponsor are Splash BI. They help with HR and CRM. Simon, Simron and Raji are there, out in the hall. And they'd love to chat to you, empowering you to have the data when and how you want it on your terms. So that's what they are proud of. But now it's time to hear from our platinum sponsors. And we're going to have an hour in their company now to hear what they do and what they do differently and what their story might be. And I met two of our speakers over dinner. I was sitting right next to them. We had a really good chat about Belfast and your story there and my adventures as a young journalist there. So I think we're in for an interesting time now. Put simply, Kainos are there to help you tackle the challenge of digital transformation because, and I said this yesterday, it's the tough love and it's on their website, digital transformation is no longer a choice, it is an imperative. It's no longer a choice, it's an imperative. We're going to hear from Lisa and Matt, but we've also got Kane and Tony and Stuart outside at their stand. And Kane is particularly talk about ESG. He's particularly keen to talk about ESG issues if you wanted to go and have a chat with him. If you're joining us virtually, don't go anywhere because we're going to hear from them now. And to introduce Lisa Gibney and Matt McManus from Kainos, let's welcome CIMA's current president, Simon Bittleston. Simon.
Hello. You can hear me now. An introduction for an introduction. What a wonderful introduction. One more piece of audience participation. Please raise your hand again if you are